20s. From the Choice 102 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Laura Huckabee.
Thank you, Laura. It's a double Gannon Associates Island visit day at the Choice. We're happy to have Mark Bradley in. He's from Bradley Family Dairy Farm right here in Bradford County, right here in the Valley. Mark is a constant and prominent voice for farming and the farm industry in our community, and he often visits area schools to spread the word that the survival of farming, well, it's vital to all of us. Mark, good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
The work of a dairy farmer, it's hard, man. It's hard. And you probably get up earlier than I do every day. Why?
It's in my blood. It's something I love to do. I get asked that question a lot. Why do you do it? There's not much money in it, truth be known. But it's something I enjoy. I love working with the animals. I love being close to nature and just doing what I do.
I've known you for a long, long time. You were in school with my kids at Sayre, and as Mike pointed out off air, I coached Mark in basketball back in the day. I know you like the title dairyman. When I think of you, I first think of family man, and I love those Facebook posts with your kids and the animals. I never thought cows were beautiful until I started following you on Facebook, but your kids love those animals too.
Oh, they do. They love coming to the barn. They love running around petting everybody, leading them around on halters. They love the cats, love the cows. And every Facebook post with one of my kids in it is more popular than anything with me in it, so that's always a plus.
So true. Take us through your career progression, will you? Sayre High School, then on to Lock Haven. Fill in the blanks for us.
When I went to Lock Haven, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. That's something I've always enjoyed doing, and ironically, it's kind of what I'm doing now with the classroom visits and whatnot. A couple years into college, I realized my heart was in the farm. Once I was away from the farm for the whole week, during the weeks, I realized just how much I missed it. So after I graduated in 2003, I came back to the farm full-time, and here I still am 16 years later.
Why did you become, or maybe the better question is when, so outspoken, such an advocate for the industry?
It was about 2 years ago, I guess. We upgraded from caveman status to smartphones. And I realized that I could take some really cool pictures of the stuff I deal with every single day. Right there with the phone in my pocket. So then I was able to, I started putting some of it on Facebook, and the response I was getting was more than I ever imagined. And the more I interacted with people, the more I realized just how interested people are in it, and not only that, but just how little they actually know about it. We live in a very rural community, but it's really amazing the gap, I would say, between the consumer and the producer, and the lack of understanding on the consumer's part of how we do things.
Most recently, Mark, and good morning to you, Commissioner Ed Buston was here, and he talked about the farm show in Harrisburg, and my family, through my wife's side of the family, has been involved in farming, or they used to be. The price of milk. Where do we stand with that? I mean, I know the farmers are struggling to make it. Where do we stand with the price of milk?
The price right now is terrible. We're getting about $14 or $15 per hundredweight, which is about 11 gallons. So that works out to like $1.30 to $1.40 comes back to us per gallon. This is the fifth year. We're entering the fifth year where the price we're receiving is near or less than what it actually costs to produce the milk. And that's why dairying is in the headlines so much. So many family farms just can't make it anymore at those prices. So they're selling out at record numbers.
And the ones who have been fortunate enough to succeed, would you say it's old money?
No, I would say it's smart management, low debt load, and almost all the farms that are still succeeding are generational farms that have been passed down. So the debt load is low, and it's just you have to be really smart in the management end of it too.
We'll come right back to this discussion with Mark Bradley, Dairyman, in just one moment.
Hi, I'm Jim Lister, and I'd like to invite you to Williams Toyota of Sayre. We have a large selection of all the Toyota models that you've come to know and trust, from the award-winning Toyota Camry to the rugged Toyota Tundra, and now in stock, the all-new, totally redesigned 2019 Toyota RAV4. With over 100 new Toyota models available, we're sure to have a Toyota model for everyone. We also have an expanded service department to be able to offer more appointments to our customers. So come visit us today in Sayre, PA, or shop us online at williamstoyota.com.
In with the new and out with the old in the new year. We're talking fiber versus cable, and fiber wins. Empire Access with the fastest internet in town. Fiber speeds 100 meg down and 20 up, bundled with digital TV for just $65 a month. And if you want to share, stream, game, surf, and learn 10 times faster than that, upgrade to gigabit speed. Only available from Empire Access. Ditch that cable and make the switch today to the fastest fiber internet. Bundled with TV for just $65 a month. A savings of over $340. Online at empireaccess.com.
Back live on the Gannon Associates Island with Mark Bradley, who is with the Bradford Family Dairy Farm. We talked about his Facebook presence, and everybody seems to love those posts, Mark. I found this quote on your page. If you don't like cows, chances are we're never going to be friends. That's good stuff, but it's true, right?
Yeah, kind of. It's just the fact that we'd have something in common, I guess, is why I put that down. People that don't like cows, they probably don't agree with a lot of other things about me also.
We talked about milk prices, a lot of threats to the farming industry in general, and so many farms have been sold in recent years. Really strong effort in Pennsylvania to preserve farmland. There are so many problems. Which ones stand out to you as an advocate for the industry?
As far as problems?
Yeah.
Number one problem is the low price is a direct correlation to overproduction. We're told that there's too much milk being produced in the country and that consumption is not keeping up with production. Fluid consumption is falling, but the overall consumption of dairy is on the rise a little bit. A lot of that is because of the alternative milks. I hate to even call them milks. The alternative plant-based beverages, and also the social media has a very negative effect on our industry. We're less than 1% of the population in this country, and only a small number of us are actually a voice for the industry. So when something hits social media that says this is in milk or that's in milk, and it's not right, it's not true, but it'll spread like wildfire on social media, and there's no way the few of us dairy farmers that are a voice can put out all those fires.
You think our state lawmakers get it when it comes to farming and the risks that are presented to hardworking dairymen like you and your family? What could Harrisburg do to better preserve the family farm?
It really depends on their background, whether they actually get it or not. There's no way you can get it unless you walk in our shoes and know just what we do day in and day out and just what we get in return for it. I'm not a big fan of politics, and a lot of what they do on the front is politics, and it looks good. But by the time it trickles back to us, I don't think there's as much going on as what it looks like.
You love talking to kids. You love going to schools. We talked about that. I see often on Facebook you're asking classrooms if you can come and spread your message. What is that message? What do you tell the kids when you get in the classroom?
Basically, I want to teach them about where their milk comes from. Some kids don't even know that milk comes from cows, and that's a tragedy, really. I want to teach them.
That's because
there's no surprise.
Well, the milk and chocolate milk comes from black cows.
Well, you wouldn't believe the number of even adults that believe that to this day.
Yeah.
But we live in such a rural community, but even still, there's such a disconnect, and kids and adults alike really don't understand where it comes from and what it takes to produce it. In my presentation, I like to tell kids about it, what we feed the cows, how we get the milk out of the cows, how the milk gets from the cows ultimately to their refrigerator, and it's been a big hit.
Mark, people think that when we have a lot of rain, it's great for the farmers. That's really not true, is it?
Everything's great in moderation, but this past summer, I know what you're talking about. This past summer was awful, absolutely awful.
it's hard to get into the fields to get to the corn and do
Yeah.
and raising the crops because dairy farmers do more than just milk cows, right? There's got to be a way to feed them. And what is that process? What is the formula, if you will, for grain versus hay, et cetera?
We grow all of our own feed for our cows, and that's one way that we're able to stay farming economically. Farms that have to produce their feed, you just can't make it. So in the spring, of course, the earlier you get stuff planted, the higher the yields you have, the better the crops you have. This past year, it was so wet in the spring that we were so late getting our corn in. And then our hay suffered as well, because if you don't get the hay cut early, it becomes over mature, and the nutritional value of it goes down rapidly, which in return leads to less milk production. And then throughout the summer, it basically rained all summer long, right up until into the fall harvest was a struggle also with the mud and the rain.
So when it comes to cutting, how many cuts do you normally get? Or what would be an ideal cutting season for you? How many times?
Ideally, we would cut the hay fields 2 to 3 times. This year, a lot of the fields we got cut the first time really late. Most of them we did not get cut a second time, and we only had 1 or 2 fields that we actually were able to cut 3 times. So that leaves us with a shortage of feed for this year. We're going to be really close. Whether we have enough, we're going to stretch it into May to have enough.
Do you rotate your fields?
Yes, that's a big part of the conservation that we do. We rotate hay and corn every couple of years. We'll switch the fields from one to the other. It's just good to rotate it.
And last question for me. The polar vortex. Now, does that affect, do cows produce milk better like human beings, whether it's not too warm and not too cold, or it doesn't really affect them?
That's funny. I was asked that question by a Facebook friend the other day also. The cold does not affect the cows the way the heat does. Our barn is a tie stall barn, which means the cows are all inside in their own stalls, and the barn is closed up tight in the event of the polar vortex. So the coldest the barn actually gets is it got down around 32, 33 degrees when the wind was blowing there. But in the heat of the summer, if it gets over 80 degrees, a cow starts to get uncomfortable and she gets hot, and that affects her milk production. But the cold, not really for us.
Those with a great memory will recall Mark Bradley is a former Forbes Award winner in football in his days at Sayre High School. What'd you take from the locker room? What'd you take from the classroom at Sayre that makes you a better person and a better dairyman?
I would almost say it was the other way around. It's what I took from my growing up on the dairy farm that made me a better athlete and a better student. It's the work ethic. The fact that when you don't feel good or when you're tired or you don't want to do it, you still have to do it on the dairy farm. You don't have a choice. You got to suck it up and you got to do it. And that mentality is missing from the last couple generations in our society. When you don't feel good, you just call in sick. The heck with it. But that's not the case on a farm. You got to suck it up.
I will say this to you, Mr. Bradley. You are needed in the political world. There's one thing about you. If it's black, it's black. If it's white, it's white. I can't agree with you any. That's a very, very good statement, that it is work ethic, and you've always had it.
So well said. And thanks, Mark. Good seeing you again. Been a long time. Much continued success to you and the family. Keep doing good things for the kids and the cows in our community.
Thanks for having me.
Winter continues in Sayre, the borough, and is becoming more proactive in protecting itself. That seminar runs from 8 till noon and will be free of charge to the first 50 registrants. One of the area's most outspoken farmers, Sayre grad Mark Bradley, says the work ethic he learned as a child on the farm made him a better student and athlete at Sayre High and a better dairyman today. I asked Bradley if area politicians get it when it comes to the plight of today's dairy farmer.
It really depends on their background. There's no way you can get it unless you walk in our shoes and know just what we do day in and day out and just what we get in return for it. I'm not a big fan of politics, and a lot of what they do on the front is politics, and it looks good. But by the time it trickles back to us, I don't think there's as much going on as what it looks like.
Bradley often visits area classrooms to promote dairy farming and explain to students how milk gets from his barn to their refrigerator. The Athens Scholarship Challenge team begins defense of its quiz show title tomorrow on The Choice. I asked Superintendent Craig Stage how he'll feel